Fear keeps you alive, but it's also the main reason why you cannot truly live. Just think about it. The average human generates tens of thousands of thoughts every day, and the better part of them are negative. And it's not a coincidence. For millions of years, the human brain evolved in a very hostile environment: wild animals, enemy tribes, terrible diseases. From biological perspective, it's been a very short time since humans were largely removed from those dangers. An office worker drinking his matcha latte no longer needs to worry about a tiger waiting for him outside. The wiring in our brain, however, cannot keep up with the pace at which our world evolves. That's the reason why the brain always tries to assess and anticipate danger, what might happen tonight, next week, or in a few years. It seeks stability and predictability, even if this stable and predictable life is miserable. At the same time, the smallest change can cause fear of uncertainty. There was a famous experiment in the 60s. Dogs were placed in a cage and repeatedly exposed to electric shocks. Eventually, they stopped trying to escape, they just accepted their fate. But here is a disturbing fact. Even when later the cage doors were opened, the dogs didn't leave, they stayed. They chose their miserable but predictable reality instead of taking a risk and facing the unknown. The biggest prison in your life doesn't have bars, it has uncertainty. This is a perfect illustration of most people's life. They tend to choose to be predictably stuck instead of unpredictably free. And they'll try to hold you back as well, because your success will prove them wrong and deepen their misery. I want to use my sister as an example here. She lived in a small town and worked very poorly paid job for 7 years because she was terrified of change. She truly believed that she would never find anything better. And even after moving to a bigger city, for 2 years she would wake up every morning early and commute to that small town for work. She would find hundreds of reasons not to act. And guess what? She found a new job paying twice as much the very next day after she quit. I am proud that she finally found the courage to start improving her life. She was still scared, but the desire to take control over her life was stronger. Fear usually attacks us in the form of self doubt, overthinking, and people who say that the risk isn't worth taking, and it's better just to accept things as they are. Here is a few practical tips that can help overcome fear. Before doing something, ask yourself, what's the worst thing that may happen if I try? And it's very important to write the answer down so that you have it in front of your eyes. Once you clearly define it, you can't exaggerate anymore. Truly answer whether this is something that can hold you back. If the risk is low and the reward is huge, what are you waiting for? You need to understand that not trying is a much bigger risk than trying and failing. But what if you don't fail? What if you actually succeed? How would that feel? Stop trying to eliminate fear before acting. A huge mistake to think that once I feel confident, I'll do it. It's like trying to learn to swim without even getting your feet wet. Courage is not the absence of fear, it's doing something despite it. You act first, confidence comes later. There is also a famous technique called exposure therapy. It's the gold standard in psychology for fighting irrational fear. The brain stops treating something as dangerous if you repeatedly survive it. For example, if you suffer from social anxiety, start small. Just ask a few strangers what the time is or where the nearest bus stop is. You won't even notice how quickly you will start feeling much more comfortable around others thanks to these small steps. Here is something I want you to remember. Fear is not a stop sign. It's a lighthouse guiding you towards growth, opportunities, and the life you've been dreaming of.